everyone, my name is Karen. This is my channel Rather Be Reading, and today I'm bringing to you an Are My Favorites Still My Favorites 2018 edition. So if you guys have been watching my channel recently, then you know that I have basically been doing a series of videos where I'm reacting to my top favorites lists from the last 5 years and putting together a short list, the books that I've decided will make a short list, which I will then do a follow-up video where I will take everything that's on the short list and try to make a top 10 list of favorites of the past 5 years. If you've been following along, then you know that to date, I already have 15 books on the short list and we still have 2 years worth of favorites to react to. So that list is going to be so hard to create. I have no idea. For some reason, I cannot recall even a single book that would be on my favorites list from 2018. So I've got no idea what to expect, but let's jump straight in and see what books I put on my favorites list in 2018 and whether they're going to make the short list for my top favorites of the last 5 years. Let's jump in. The highly anticipated moment is here. It is. But as a fun little bonus, before we jump into that, I thought I would touch on my 2 least favorite books of the year. Oh yes, let's quickly find out what my least favorites were in 2018. These obviously don't make the short list, but it's just fun to find out which books which books I truly hated. So let's quickly find out what those were. First of my hair in my mouth, the first of my least favorite books was Love Bites, 101 Tips for Dating Guys with Bangs by Claire Hooper. Oh yeah, that book was really terrible. It was literally like supposed to be like a self-help book, but it was like a fake self-help book of like how to date vampires. It was so just ridiculous and stupid. Like, it was one of those books that I was like, I literally don't know how this got published. So yes, it didn't I didn't hate it or anything, like in terms of it didn't make me angry or anything like that, but it was one of those books that just felt incredibly pointless. The other book that I really didn't like was House by Ted Dekker and Frank Peretti. Oh yeah. So the other one I may not have found offensive, but this one I certainly did. This was really bad, and I thought had some incredibly offensive subject matter in it. It's like a horror set in a haunted house, and it was bad. Really bad. So do not recommend. But let's jump in to see what the favorites were. Now that brings us to the top 10. Yay. Let's jump straight in and talk about my 10 favorite books of 2018. Quick disclaimer, not all of these books are published in 2018. I do this disclaimer every year, but I guess there's a reason for it. Okay, what are they? Coming in at number 10 is Lily and the Octopus by Stephen Rowley. Oh yeah, Lily and the Octopus. Okay, this is a literary fiction, I guess you would describe it. It's basically about a man who has this really beautiful friendship with his dog, Lily. And it's kind of magical realism type of thing where like Lily talks in the book, like he hears Lily talk, and it's basically about that Lily has one day an octopus is growing on her head, and it's about that. It sounds really ridiculous, but it actually was really beautiful. Like any story about a great beautiful relationship between a person, human, and a dog, this is always going to touch my heart. I did really enjoy this. There's one part I recall in the middle where it started to lose me a little bit, but it brought me back in, and I did genuinely really enjoy it. Not enough to make my short list, but I did really enjoy it. Coming in at number 9 is Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. Okay, I think I've had quite a few Morgan Matsons on favorites lists throughout this, and I do already have Second Chance Summer by her on my short list, which is my favorite Morgan Matson. That's more of a like heavier topic story, which that's kind of how I prefer my contemporary. This one is a lot more lighthearted. It's about a girl basically who, it's the start of the summer holidays and her best friend has gone missing. Not missing like it's in terms of place, she just doesn't know where her friend and her family have gone. But her friend has basically left her this kind of bucket list type of thing of 10 things for her to try and achieve or do over the summer. And it's basically about her trying to do those things over the summer and kind of come out of her shell. It's very kind of coming of age, very enjoyable and fun. I wouldn't consider this a favorite of all time, and it's not
like enough of a favorite to make the shortlist.
Coming in at number 8 is actually a sequel, and that is GODSGRAVE by KRISTO.
Of course, GODSGRAVE. So GODSGRAVE is, of course, the sequel to Nevernight. And so I really enjoyed Nevernight when I read it, and but I only gave it 4.5 stars. And the reason it only got a 4.5 was because it took me a little while to get into the writing style and kind of the world that this is set in. But once I was in, I was loving it. But it did take me a bit to get into it, so I gave that a 4.5. But I didn't have that issue with GODSGRAVE because I'd already read Nevernight. I already was kind of used to the writing style and the world and was really invested in the characters. So I was just straight in it from the beginning, and I loved it. And I still haven't read Dark Dawn. I kept waiting to finish it because I wanted to finish, I listened to them on audio, and I wanted to finish them on audio. But for some reason, my library just still has not got the 3rd book. And I've got a bunch of other series that I'm trying to catch up on and finish at the moment. But once that's done, I believe Mel, if you're watching this, remind me if it was you who agreed to do this, offered to let me use her libraries because her library does have it. And if my library still doesn't have it by the time I want to get to it, she may let me use her account. Like log into her library's account using her library card to listen to this because I really, really want to finish it, and I want to finish it on audio, but I'm so pumped to finish that. Will this make the shortlist? It's kind of hard because I feel like it's going to be hard for an incomplete series to make the list, and because I haven't read the last book, and it's really only GODSGRAVE that was on the list, so you know what, I'm going to put it on the shortlist. I think it will be hard for this one to beat out other books when it's just kind of there on its own and not a series as a whole. But I'm going to give it a chance, and I'm going to put it on the shortlist and see what happens.
Coming in at number 7 is The Almost Sisters by Joshua and Jackson.
The Almost Sisters. I kind of forgot. I just hadn't thought about this book. The Almost Sisters by Joshua and Jackson was the first book I ever read by Joshua and Jackson, and I loved it so much that it made me try to read all of her backlist, and I have read most of her backlist now. I think there's 2 of her books that I haven't read, only because my library doesn't have them, and they're really expensive to buy, both physically and on Kindle. But I do eventually want to read those 2 as well. But I loved this book. So this book is basically about a woman who has I think she's living in like LA or California, somewhere like that, and maybe San Francisco, somewhere like that. And she has a one-night stand with this person. And then at a comic book convention, who was dressed as Batman, and which, like, fair enough. And she ends up pregnant. She then has to, and the man who she was dressed up as Batman, who she got impregnated by, was a black man. And she is white, and she's originally from a very small town in Alabama. And she basically ends up returning to that small town in Alabama because her grandmother is having some health issues, particularly around kind of Alzheimer's or dementia, that type of issues. And so she travels back to this small town, but is very concerned because she has decided to have this baby, and it's going to be a mixed race baby, obviously in small town Alabama, which is not known for its most open-minded mindset. And there's also kind of a mystery element to it. There's something that kind of crops up to do with the grandmother that you're kind of trying to investigate as well. I really, really enjoyed this book. I thought the commentary in it on race was really, really interesting and very, like, I just remember that the author spoke about things in such a way that just felt like really honest. Like, I remember her, like, the way it was portrayed was like her saying things like that she could never understand the world that her child is going to live in because her child is going to be mixed race, and she's not, she's white, and she could never understand the issues that her child is going to have. Just really interesting things like that. And like a lot of commentary like that. I thought it was really, really well done. I think I am going to put this one on the short list because I really did love it. And the fact that, like I said, it inspired me to immediately say I want to read like everything this author has written, I think says a lot. Again, might be tough for this one to beat some of the other competitors because we've got a really strong feel going into the final thing. But I think I am going to put that one on the short list, which this is getting concerning because we're only up to book 7 and I already have 2 more on the short list. So yikes. Let's see what else is on here.
Coming in at number 6 is An Unwanted Guest by Shari LaPena.
Of course! Okay, this has to make the shortlist just straight up because this is probably close to my favorite, if not my favorite thriller that I've read. This is this storyline just speaks to me. It's basically about a group of people who are all staying at a hotel in like a remote area. I think it might be in like Scotland or something. When there's a huge snowstorm, they basically all get snowed in, they lose power and everything when the first person dies. And people start to die, and it's like, you're all trapped in there together. Who's doing it? That just speaks to me, my ideal storyline. And I loved it. It was so well done. I only gave it a 4.5. I've mentioned this before. Thriller's my favorite genre, but I've never given a thriller 5 stars. This book got close. The only thing that stopped this from getting a full 5 stars was that I did basically guess the ending, or like a good part of the ending. So I wasn't like, didn't quite get as much of that like real shock factor that I wanted. But I did really, really love this, and it's still one of my, like I said, it's one of my favorite thrillers, the other thriller that's kind of up there that I really, really love, I know is on my favorites list for 2019. So yeah, loved, and I want to guess that's definitely going to make my short list.
Now entering our top 5, coming in at number 5, we have Fingersmith by Sarah Waters.
Fingersmith! I've thought about Fingersmith a lot recently because it's one of the books that I just gave a couple of weeks ago. I gave my mum like a pile of books off my shelf that I thought she might enjoy reading, and this was in the pile, and I keep seeing it at her house when I go there and thinking, oh, can't wait till she gets to that. I loved Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. Another one of like, so this isn't like a thriller, but it's in that type of category, and another one of my like favorite type of books in that type of area. This is historical fiction, and it's basically about a girl who, she's an orphan, and she basically grew up amongst like con artists, and she basically gets involved in a con to try swindle someone out of some money. That's all I'm gonna say. This book has so much in it, and I don't want to say too much because I feel like saying too much about this can really like spoil the story for you. You just kind of, that's all you really need to know. Then you just need to go into it and friggin' enjoy the ride, and goddamn did I enjoy the ride. This is 100% making my short list. I still think, like I said, I still think about Fingersmith all of the time. Definitely gonna make my short list. I'm getting concerned because I've already had so many of these books on my short list, and we've still got 4 to go. Oh Lord, pray for me. I don't think I managed to include it here, but I literally just said in this video that I hope to read more of Sarah Waters in 2019. I didn't, and we're now several months into 2020, and I still haven't. But I own, I think, 3 other Sarah Waters on my shelf, and I'm dying to get to them. But anyway, let's move on.
Coming in at number 4 is This Is How It Always Is by Laurie Frankel.
Okay, of course. I'd forgotten about this book as well. This Is How It Always Is by Laurie Frankel. I loved this book. This is a literary fiction about a family. It basically follows a set of parents who have, I think it's 5 or 6 sons, but the youngest son, who was born biologically as a male, from a very early age starts to present that she wants to be a girl. And it deals with a lot of really tough subject matter because these parents are incredibly supportive, but it deals with a lot of things that's just, I guess, you don't really think about, and I've never had to think about as a cisgender person, and I don't know any trans people, that the parents are like, it's hard for them to know. They're very supportive of it, but at what age do you know who you are? And is it a phase? Or is this going to be a thing? Because if it is a permanent thing, they want to be supportive of it. But, you know, there's a lot of things that maybe need to be done if it is going to be a permanent thing, and they're not sure whether it's too young to start doing those things. And then also a lot of issues, obviously, with prejudice and things like that, and not knowing how to handle that. And it just, a lot of issues around that. Very interesting subject matter. I thought it was very, very well done. And it is own voices from the perspective of that the parent of a trans person. Laurie Frankel herself has a trans child. So it is very, very, like, you could tell that it was kind of firsthand, like it felt very honest and very raw. I don't think this will make the shortlist, but I did really love it, obviously, and I highly recommend it as a book that people should check out. It was very, very well done and well written, just a great book on this subject matter. But I don't think it's quite going to make my shortlist.
Coming in at number 3 is Educated by Tara Westover.
I'm an idiot. How did I not remember that this would be on this list? Because, so again, another book that I've actually talked about a lot recently, like outside of BookTube, because my friend Emma just read Educated recently and really loved it. And almost at the exact time that Emma messaged me to say, oh, I just finished reading Educated, really loved it, my mum just started Educated. And she has since finished it and she loved it. And she has taken, it's my book, and she's like, oh, I mentioned it to a friend of mine, and she actually took it around to that lady's house and like has given it to that lady to read, because that lady apparently reads only nonfiction. My dad has heard us talking about it, and my dad wants to read it once my mum's friends are done with it. Yeah, so I thought about this book a lot recently, and I really enjoyed, like, my mum and I talked about this book quite a bit back and forth. So in case you don't know what this is about, this is nonfiction. It's a memoir. Tara Westover grew up in a very devout Mormon family, but more devout even than like the typical. But also her dad was a survivalist. So they lived in the middle of nowhere, very off the grid. She had I think 7 brothers and sisters, something like that. But for after the first 2 or 3 of the children, none of them had ever been, their births hadn't been registered, they'd never seen a doctor, they'd never been to school. They lived completely off grid, and it's basically about Tara Westover's journey from moving from that life into wanting to become educated and go to school and get a degree and things like that, and trying to, I guess, move away from beliefs that your family has if they're not necessarily the beliefs that you have. This book was incredible. Like I said, I do think about it quite a bit, but also because, like I said, I've thought about it quite a bit recently because so many people I know have been reading it. This is 100% going to make the shortlist. I would say this is my favorite nonfiction I've ever read. Definitely my favorite memoir, so 100% has to make my shortlist. Oh, I'm nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous, but let's find out what my top 2 are.
Coming in at number 2 is The Six of Crows duology by Lee Bardugo.
The Six of Crows duology. Holy shit. Okay. I already have the Grisha trilogy on my shortlist from, I think, maybe the first year. Far out. Is it cheating if I put the Grisha trilogy and Six of Crows all together? I think it probably is. I don't think I can do that. Do I like Six of Crows more than Grisha? Or Grisha more than Six of Crows? I don't know. Oh, Lord. I loved these books. I don't know what to do. I think I'm going to have to put them on the shortlist. I mean, Grisha's on there, and I loved these, if not more, I would say at least equally. I love them. I'm getting so concerned about how many books are on my shortlist, you guys. Yeah, these ones are going to be on the shortlist. And we haven't even got to my top favorite of this year yet. Far out. What could I possibly have put on here that beat both Educated and the Six of Crows duology? I don't know. Let's find out.
Coming in at number 1, my favorite book that I read in the entire year of 2018.
I'm so nervous.
Out of 250 books was The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern.
The Night Circus! Fuck! Of course, The Night Circus. Yeah, okay. Well, that's making the shortlist. No doubts about it. Far out. Okay. The Night Circus, in case you don't know, is fantasy, I guess. It's basically about 2 magicians who, from when they were children, basically get put into a magical battle that they have to do, but it's all surrounding a circus that kind of comes up out of nowhere at night and is always moving locations. The circus itself is very magical, and it's about that. Erin Morgenstern's writing in this book was just some of the best writing I've ever read, and I loved this book, and it has to make the shortlist But now I am freaking out because we already had, I'm just moving my laptop on to my lap for ease of access, because let's quickly tally up how many books from this list we added to the short list. Holy guacamole. Oh, Lord. Okay. The Almost Sisters made it, and I Want to Guess made it, Educated made it, Fingersmith made it, GODSGRAVE made it, The Night Circus made it, Six of Crows Duology made it, and that's it. 7. Well, shit. So that takes the shortlist to 22 books with a whole nother year still to come. And I'm apparently going to whittle this down to a top 10. And originally I was planning to rank that top 10. Am I even going to be able to do that? I don't know. I've never done a favorites list and not ranked them. And I'm one of those people who I really enjoy ranking things. Like, I just really enjoy doing that. And I really enjoy hearing other people rank things. But am I going to be able to rank my top 10 favorite books of the past 5 years? I'm like having an existential crisis right now. Okay, well, what can we do? They're the books on the short list. I'm hoping there's going to be at least 5 minimum that I'm just going to be able to cross off straight away that I know after seeing the short list all together can't live up to the rest of them. But I don't know, because there's some real strong contenders just from this list. And when I try to kind of vaguely think of the ones that I remember that are already on the short list, I'm like, this is danger times. Okay, well, that's it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you've read any of these books, if they're favorites of yours, if they would make a top favorites list of you guys for the past several years, I would love to know. Please think of me and pray for me in these difficult times as I'm dreading making that list. But gosh, we're probably a month or 2 away from me having to put that list together. Yikes. Okay, anyway, please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That is all I have for this video today. Bye, guys.